Happy holidays. Welcome to Jackrabbit Journal. And we are still shaking our heads here a couple days later, Hank, as North Dakota State ends the SDSU football season, a 27-24 win in the second round of the FCS playoffs. Again, and the Jackrabbits had them right where they wanted until those last 3 minutes and 18 seconds, Hank.
Indeed, we did. Really unfamiliar territory for the Jackrabbits, being ahead of the Bison at that stage of the game and really having an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity to win it in the Fargo Dome of all places, where obviously everybody knows our history up there. But a really tough loss, and really one that I think the guys can take a look at and really honestly say that they let one slip through their fingers.
All right, 27-24 the final. Our man here on Jackrabbit Journal, David Brown, was there. He's got the quick wrap on this one.
3 straight trips to the postseason, 3 straight first-round victories, but unfortunately for South Dakota State, 3 straight second-round losses. That's because the Jacks lost to North Dakota State 27-24 on Saturday afternoon in the Fargo Dome. R.J. Erzendowski, the freshman receiver for the Bison, scores a touchdown with 54 seconds left to give them a 27-24 lead. And then on the last pass of Austin Sunders' storied career, he throws an interception. It's his first pick in the last 4 games, and unfortunately for the Jacks, that sealed their fate.
Football, stuff happens. This team went down swinging. It's good with me.
This was a game of huge momentum swings. NDSU got out to a 14-0 lead early in the second, but then the Jacks busted out a Wildcat-type formation with Zach Zenner. Sometimes he'd hand off to Brady Mangarelli, other times he'd take it himself, but either way, he ran the Wildcat 8 consecutive plays during the second quarter, and that gave SDSU a couple of touchdowns to tie the game at 14 at halftime.
This is the first time we've ran something like that in 3 years. Just something that we wanted to put in. NDSU is always good at stopping the running game. Something we put in just to something new, something they hadn't seen. We figured that would be good for us since we played them so often.
We just put it in this week. Yeah, so an option, literally an option to, when you're a tailback-oriented offense like we are. Where Zach Zenner goes, if you're running the football, that's where the ball's got a good chance to be unless you run play-action pass. And so this allowed us to spread out the responsibility, create a little misdirection.
SDSU took the lead in the third quarter on a Justin Saravatka field goal to make it 17-14, and then the Bison came back with a couple of field goals of their own to make it 20-17 in the fourth quarter. But then the Jackrabbits mounted a drive late in the fourth that ended on a Jake Winicky touchdown, 24-20 with 3 minutes and 18 seconds to go. But unfortunately for the Jacks defense, they could not stop the Bison offense, and Erzendowski scored with less than a minute remaining.
I thought we had it. Thought it was a lock, to be honest. I had total confidence that our defense was going to stop them. And then we were going to either knee it, 3 times, and that would have been it.
Coach Stiegelmeier and the players obviously very emotional in the locker room afterwards. Stig said it would be hard to evaluate this season, basically trying to compare it to past seasons, said it wasn't any better or worse because, again, it ended in a second-round defeat.
Really hard right now, yeah. The only thing that matters is the only thing that matters is winning, and we didn't get it done.
All right, thanks, David. We will run through the grueling and grinding moments of this game. We'll hear from offensive coordinator Eric Eidsness and defensive coordinator Clint Brown on the Wildcat formation and the go-ahead touchdown and the last drives of the game when we come back.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionato.com.
Welcome back to Jackrabbit Journal. Coach Stiegelmeier was in New York early this week along with Zach Zenner at the award presentation of the Campbell Trophy, Hank. It goes to the top scholar athlete in all classes of college football. There were 219 initial candidates. Zenner was one of the 17 finalists, and he earns an $18,000 postgraduate scholarship just for that. He's an academic All-American, a 3.86 grade point average in biology and pre-med courses. Full disclosure, we're taping this show before the award presentation. If you won it, Zach, congratulations. If he does, he gets $25,000 instead of $18,000, but still a big accomplishment for one of the best running backs in the nation.
Oh, absolutely. It speaks to, the young man as a whole. He's not just a football player. He's a sharp, bright young man with a very bright future ahead of him.
All right. In Stig's absence, meanwhile, we talked with the coordinators this week, Eric Eidsness on offense, Clint Brown on defense. Hank, in this game against North Dakota State, in this playoff game, what would your defensive game plan be against the Bison?
Oh, well, first and foremost, you got to stop the run. It's Bison football. Their success is predicated on being able to run the football effectively 4-5 yards at a time. That power run game, that's what they're all about. So that's priority number one, no doubt about it. Then, of course, eliminate big plays.
All right, here is Coach Brown agrees. Here's Coach Brown on the SDSU defensive game plan in this game against the Bison.
I mean, honestly, we were basically daring him to throw the football. We were loading the box in the run to make him throw the ball, and Wentz is a good quarterback. We know he can throw, but I think our corners have shown throughout the season that they were good players, consistent. We felt they could handle it. They catch a fade ball on us on the sideline, a great throw, good catch. It was good coverage. We have to live with that. And so, we were trying to shut the run game down and make them throw it, and they caught us. There's a great pass, great catch in the end zone, the one in the corner route. And then they got us on the fade down the sideline to put themselves in position to score another one. So that was kind of what happened, in the first half.
All right, North Dakota State had 43 yards rushing in that first quarter. They had 93 passing yards, so it didn't work out well early. But NDSU scores again early in the second quarter to go up 14-0. After that, though, for the next maybe 2 quarters, from the middle of the first quarter or the middle of the second quarter until really the end of the ball game, did the Jackrabbit defense clamp down a little bit and play pretty well?
Absolutely, and I think everybody was able to see that while they were watching this football games. They saw the guys on the defensive side settle into the game plan, get back as comfortable as you can be in that environment, and just focus on every single individual play and do their jobs. And they did, like you said, they did that for the first couple quarters after the Bison were really able to get into a rhythm early on in the game. First drive, second drive, they were moving the ball pretty effectively, but they weren't able to do that throughout the middle of this football game.
All right. Meanwhile, the Jackrabbits come back. They tie it up in the first half. They go to the Wildcat formation with Zenner taking the direct snap. Eidsness says that they plan to get into this in the third or fourth series of the football game.
Once we got into it, we knew we were going to stay in it and not just run a play here or a play there, because let's get in, let's run some of this stuff before they have time to go to the sidelines and make adjustments. Not meaning you wouldn't go back to it, but you hit a big play like we handed off to Brady. They were keying Zinner, and boom, you get a big play. Well, then all of a sudden, if you just run the back out your offense, what are they talking about? What are they working on in the press box? With the coaching staff. So we wanted to stay in it and get some mileage out of it and see what we could do. And obviously had a lot of confidence in Zach. Having been essentially a Wildcat quarterback in high school, it was something that we have a lot of confidence, and he could make good decisions with that and do it. And like I said, it was something we thought would work other times during the year, but some things you're just saving, for the right game and the right situation, and this was definitely the right time to pull it out.
So using this Wildcat formation, the Jacks get a 17-yard touchdown run by Zenner to make it 14-7. The defense holds NDSU to a 3-and-out, and then Je Ryan Butler returns this punt 80 yards all the way back to the Bison 11-yard line. And the Jacks go back to the Wildcat. Zenner scores again 3 plays later, ties it at 14. This was a huge 8-minute stretch in the second quarter for the Jackrabbits to get it tied up.
Absolutely. It was a different feel to this ball game after that stretch right there. Pretty much anywhere you went where somebody was watching that game, it was electric outside of the Fargo Dome, of course, because all the momentum was with SDSU. And you saw guys stepping up, making plays when they needed to be made. You throw in that wrinkle with that Wildcat or that Lion package, and you've got the 3-time defending national champions on their heels in their backyard.
All right, tied at the half. Zenner, 17 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns already at this point. Second half coming up. Coach Eidsness with some insight on the Jackrabbits' drive to take the lead, and Coach Brown with some second thoughts on that last Bison drive to win the game.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Well, Jackson, the Bison tied up 14-all at halftime. It's 17-17 at the end of the third quarter. And for any Jackrabbit fan, Hank, is there any surprise that it's tied up going into the fourth quarter of this game?
No way. There shouldn't have been. Anybody who's followed this team over the last month and has seen them play understood this isn't the same team that was up there a couple of months ago who quite frankly were just outmatched. This is a different football team who knew how to make plays and knew what they needed to do to potentially win this game.
All right, there was one great catch in the third quarter that we have to show. Jason Schneider with this grab for 38 yards. He had 3 catches in the game. He finishes second all-time in catches at SDSU with 175 in his career. This was one of his best, and it leads to a field goal to give the Jacks a 17-14 lead. North Dakota State comes back. They get a field goal, tie it up at 17. They go to the fourth. NDSU gets a field goal to go up 20-17, and then the Jacks go on a 10-play, 75-yard drive, and this was the third to last run of Zach Zenner's college career, and it was brutal, and it was beautiful. On 4th and 3, he gets 4 yards to keep this drive alive. The Jacks get down to the goal line. They run Zenner again. They get a pass interference call on NDSU to set up a 1st and goal from the 5. And then here is Eidsness on how the Jacks stick it in the end zone to take the lead.
As we got down there, we ran Zenner to the first play, and I saw the safety suck down. And so we ran in a receiver, Landberg, and took Schneider out, and I said, tell him to tell Austin to make sure to ride it hard. That safety's falling in, and Jake's going to be wide open right behind him. And it's fun when it works how you think it, how you see it. So we really ran the same formation and just faked that play, and then just ran Jake in right behind where that safety had vacated. And there was a big window there and a big hole, and Austin did a great job of just waiting for him to clear that safety when he stuck his head down there, and it was wide open.
So, huge celebration from Jacks fans. SDSU leads 24-20, but there's still 3 minutes and 18 seconds left in the ball game. North Dakota State starts that last drive on their own 24. The Bison get a holding penalty, put them in a 1st and 20, and here is Coach Brown on what happens next.
We had a mental breakdown after the holding penalty. I think it was 1st and 20 or 2nd and 20. We had a breakdown in the coverage that they ended up picking up, 19 of the 20 yards that they needed. Had we stayed in coverage, that ball may be thrown and caught, and we're tackling them for a 5-yard gain or a 7-yard gain, and you're forcing them into, now it's 3rd and 8. Who knows, 4th and 5. We don't know what the scenario is going to be. Then for me, I just like to have, I'd like to have the last call back. I would have liked to have been in a different coverage. Hindsight's 20/20, but we just would like to change that up and be in something else and see what would have happened.
All right, the Bison get the score with 54 seconds to play, 27-24 NDSU. Jacks get the ball back with 48 seconds and 3 timeouts, but on the first play of what Jacks fans were hoping would be at least a game-tying drive, Sumner is picked off on a play where Eidsness says Sumner made the right read, trying to get that 10-yard out. The defensive back kind of made a good play, but a fortunate play on the ball. Game over, season over for the Jacks, 27-24. All right, so much for the myth that Zach Zenner can't run the ball against the Bison. 32 carries, 133, and 2 touchdowns. He goes over 2,000 yards for the 3rd straight season. First FCS player ever to do that. And the Jackrabbits again finished with 9 wins for the 3rd year in a row. When we come back, more thoughts from the coordinators on what might have been different if Sumner had played the whole year, and how the defense held it together this year with tape and bandages and braces.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Welcome back. Well, here is a loaded question for you, Mr. McCall. Was this season a success for the Jackrabbits?
Well, I think it depends entirely on how you look at it. From the team's perspective, with the goals that they had in place prior to the season starting, conference championship, top 8 seed in the playoff bracket, and then moving forward out of the second round in the playoff bracket, I would say, based on those, no. But when you look at all of the adversity that this team struggled throughout the season and the great things that they were able to do despite that adversity, I'd say yes, it was a success. So it depends entirely on how you look at it.
All right. We goaded Coach Eidsness this week into answering this loaded question. What could have been this year if Austin Sumner had played the entire season?
The way he was playing, it creeps into your mind, and really how many more games will we win, all that stuff, not necessarily, but you see a kid work hard and do great things, and I mean, should have been the all-time leading Missouri Valley passer, potentially touchdowns, all those things, and you just, not necessarily what would that mean to our guy, but just a kid that's worked hard, and just you like to see him get some of those things, and then you realize how hard it is to get those things because injuries do play a part in it. And so with what Zach was able to accomplish and what Austin potentially could have accomplished, you think about it a little bit, and that it's more for the kids that way. But it was fun to see things, during a stretch there when they had to defend everything, which is what the plan was going into the season. To see it was fun to see some of that starting to come to realization, because you wonder. And then you start to see it happen, like, it could have been kind of scary, really.
As Eric points out as well, big credit to Zach Lujan this year. He was 5-2 as a starter, got the Jacks through that middle part of the season, and I got him into that playoff push. But on defense, pass rush, a big concern all year. Injuries played a part. Kevin Klosick was injured early on, one of their pass rush guys. Charles Elmore, one of their linebackers, was out the entire season. How big of a part did injuries play on defense?
No, they played a big part this year, especially with a young defense like this one. You need every playmaker at any position that you can get to be as healthy as possible throughout the entirety of the season. And, maybe a Charles Elmore, maybe he is able to make a couple plays here and there throughout the season. That changes the scope of the season. But, in the end, you got to play with the hand that you're dealt. And that's what they did.
A lot of young guys got to play. That looks good for the future. We'll talk much more about the future next week on this show. But up next, our final rapid fire interview of the season with Je Ryan Butler.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by BillionAuto.com.
Welcome back. Defensive back Je Ryan Butler is in this week's rapid fire interview with David Brown.
Why are you number 22?
My favorite corner is Asante Samuel from the old school Philadelphia Eagles and Patriots.
And so, no doubt 22 is your number?
Yeah, no doubt, 22.
How many different ways has your first name been pronounced or butchered?
Growing up, it was Jerian, then it was Jerron, and here they say Je Ryan. So my mom thinks it's funny, and my family thinks it's funny, but it's Je Ryan. But they say J instead of Ja, so it's fun.
do you correct people, or have you just let it slide?
I sometimes I let it slide. If they butcher it bad, I hate being called Ryan. So if they just say Ryan, I'm like, no, it's Je Ryan, stuff like that. So.
Who would win a race between all the cornerbacks?
Oh, race without all the cornerbacks. Me, by far, probably. It would be me, then it would be Jimmy, and then probably Freeman would be the next fastest, I believe.
No doubt about it, you're the best.
The best corner?
The best in terms of winning a race.
Speed? Oh yeah, by far. I'll probably win.
What was your biggest adjustment from Arizona to South Dakota?
I lived in Arizona since I was like 10, 11. But before that, I lived in Sandusky, Ohio. So, I mean, the cold, I knew of the cold, so I kind of knew what to expect. But the wind out here, it's ridiculous. So.
What is your favorite Coach Stig catchphrase?
Coach Stig's catchphrase, holy nutmeg. Holy nutmeg, because every time you hear it, you have to really think about what that really means, like as a coach, a man of faith, obviously he's a man of faith. So you gotta just think of like, what does holy nutmeg really mean, because is he cussing? Is he happy? So you never know what that term really means. I guess he only knows.
Do you have a pregame ritual or any superstitions you do before a game?
Oh, I'm very superstitious. Like, if I have a bad game, I will literally burn everything. I'll throw it away. I'll start fresh, start over a new style. But the most consistent thing I do is I listen to really slow, kind of like R&B music before the games. I'm not like a big hype, rock or loud hip hop music. I just like to be mellow. So.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Ice cream, strawberry for sure, and a little bit of cookies and cream for the Brookings area.
What's your favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? I would say right now The League on Netflix. I have that on repeat. I've probably watched it like 6 times throughout the course of the year. I put it on when I go to sleep, and I love that show.
What is your most memorable interception here at SDSU?
What you said, memorable?
Memorable. One you remember the most, or your favorite one, whichever comes to mind.
My favorite one, probably my NAU 2-pick game. That was it wasn't like a sick catch or anything by that, but it was just that was the first time my grandmother got to see me play, and my uncle. We were up there in Flagstaff, and I got a pick, and my best friends from high school were there and came and watched me play, so it was pretty cool.
All right, last one.
Yep.
Which group are bigger divas, corners or wideouts?
Oh, by far the wideouts. I don't know if you can pull them up here, but they got the black jerseys, they got the yellow jerseys and stuff like that during practice. Defense is definitely a lot more, blue collar. You just show up, don't care what we do. We're just gonna play football, and our receivers are kind of, so it's fun. Love them though.
All right, thanks for playing.
Thank you.
Thanks to Je Ryan, thanks to Clint, thanks to Eric. We'll talk more about next season with Mr. Happy here next week on the show. Thanks for watching.